Hello, my name is Mariah. Welcome back. Today I am going to do another bit of a reading challenge. I wanted to try out the swapping my screen time for reading time challenge. Now, I am going to do this slightly differently than the traditional version. I recently saw Sid from Sid's Bookworm, I think is the channel name, do a variation of this where she looked at her daily pickups for her phone and read that amount of pages rather than reading the hours that she spent on her phone, which is better for me because I do tend to have like YouTube videos playing in the background a lot where I'm not necessarily actively on my phone, but it is contributing to my screen time. So this, I felt like, was more feasible for me. I have actually completed the challenge. I won't go into it too much until I've started, but I am planning on reading some manga, and I also have a fantasy book that I want to read before the end of this vlog. So that is kind of the gist of what we're doing today, and I will send you back to past Mariah, who was reading the first manga of this video. Bye. Hello, I'm here checking in for day one of the screen time versus reading time challenge. You would have seen in the B-roll, but I believe I had like 67 pages to read today. I'm getting it pulled back up. 63. Okay, so last week on Monday, I picked up my phone 63 times, and I have read way more than 63 pages today already, so I've reached that goal. I read all of volume 20 of Demon Slayer, which I can't really speak anything about because I picked it up after reading or watching Infinity Castle, because I was seeing spoilers places and trying to avoid them, and I'm still doing that, but like I figured I might as well just read what happens so that if the spoilers pop up, I'm not upset about it. So this is, I think, the third volume since the end of Infinity Castle, and yeah, I can't talk about it. It's the final battle. The final battle is very long. If you know, you know. I am excited for the movie whenever it comes out, which will be probably another 2 years. I'm upset because the author of this series is just not holding back anymore, but it was great. It was great, and I did check my library app to put a hold on the next volume, but the next volume actually was available, so I have that out from the library now. I will be reading it tomorrow probably. I do want to get some of my actual like physical novel read, and that's The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. This is, I think this is technically a romantasy. I don't know too much about it other than I believe she's a knight, and she has a mage that she protects, and I guess it's their relationship. I don't know if this is romantically like heavy or if it's fantasy heavy. My hope would be fantasy heavy. Obviously, I'm not the biggest romance reader, but this is a book club pick for Gavin Reads It All's membership, which I am part of. However, the live show is on Saturday, and this is, oh, it's not quite 500 pages. It's 462 pages, and I don't read that fast, so I highly doubt that I will actually finish this before the live show, but hopefully this challenge will get me at least close, farther than I would have otherwise. But yeah, I'm gonna start this tonight before I go to bed, And then, because I cannot help myself, I will still pick up the next volume of Demon Slayer tomorrow and probably just read all of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how I feel about this. I do love the cover. It's gorgeous, so I hope I love the book. We'll just have to see, and I know that I will love Demon Slayer. So, but yeah, that is it. I have reached the goal for today. I don't know tomorrow's goal yet. I guess since I've already reached the goal, I might as well check what it is for tomorrow. You see, it turns out I have my phone on a lot because I have, well, my most used app is YouTube. So I usually just have like a video playing in the background. I'm not actively on the phone. And you can tell that because my pickups aren't crazy. Like when I watched Sid Bookworm's, I think, video where she did it this way, she had like 90 to 100 plus pickups, and I don't have quite that many that I'm aware of. Yeah, day 2, so Tuesday last week, I picked up my phone 50 times. I just technically have to read 50 pages, but since I am reading the manga, I'll definitely be over that amount. Maybe I'll try and read at least 50 pages of this within the next 2 days. So like 25 pages tonight, 25 pages tomorrow night. Maybe I'll do more than that. That's not the challenge. The challenge is just for me to read 50 pages tomorrow, and I will be doing that. So yep, that is it, and I will update tomorrow once I've reached my page count, probably after I finish the 21st volume of Demon Slayer. I'll see you then. This is just a quick update. End of day 2, Tuesday. I've exceeded my 50 pages because I did restart and finish Demon Slayer Volume 21. I can't say anything, obviously. The final battle has begun, and my god, is it brutal. So there's that. I have 2 more volumes in the series to go, but the next one is on hold. So I'll get to that once it's available. Probably won't be in this vlog. So there's that. I don't rate manga, by the way. I mean, this was great. If you haven't watched Infinity Castle, I feel like it got so much darker instantly than it had been earlier in the series. Obviously it was death and stuff, but like Infinity Castle is just a whole new level of brutality. And this man, the author of this series, he's not holding back right now. So read that. That's 192 pages. I did start The Second Death of Locke last night, which I only read 17 pages, but I'm gonna read some more today, and I will be focusing on that solely starting tomorrow, unless my manga hold comes in, but I doubt that. I have 2 manga on hold. One is Demon Slayer Volume 22, and the other is the newest volume of JJK, but they both have like at least a 6-week hold, probably longer for JJK, so I doubt they'll come in. If they do, I'll let you know. But yeah, I'll focus on The Second Death of Locke. Let me check real quick before my battery dies what the screen time is for tomorrow. Oh no, it's more I just realized I have more pickups because I'm using my phone to read American Psycho at work last week. So I do have quite a few pickups for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week. That sucks. Well, I have 88 pages to read tomorrow, and that's gonna be all from The Second Death of Locke, so hopefully I enjoy it. I have no thoughts right now, because, like, obviously I'm only 17 pages in, but I'll make more progress, and I will read 88 pages of it tomorrow at least. Hopefully I can do it. I don't read super fast, but I will dedicate some time to reading it tomorrow, and hopefully I should reach my goal. I'll see you then. Okay, so we're back. It is actually Friday now. I spent the past couple of days just focusing on getting my pages read in this book because I mentioned earlier in the video how my pickups for my phone weren't that high, and I was saying that based off of the week before. I had been thinking about looking at the video, doing this video, and so I'd looked at the week prior to that, and it wasn't that much. And I didn't think about the fact that the week that last week when I was thinking about doing this, I was actively reading a book on my phone. So my pickups were more on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday than they would have been otherwise. So yeah, I've had more pages than I typically read in a day, but I am now over halfway through The Second Death of Locke. On Wednesday, I read 88 pages, so it got up to 114. I think I actually ended up reading slightly more than 88. And then yesterday I had to read 99 pages. I got to page 216. Today is 102 pages, and I'm currently at 288 pages. I have to get to page 318. So I only have 30 pages left. I can definitely do that. And it doesn't matter if I stay up a little later to read that because it's Friday. I don't have to work tomorrow. So that's where the progress is with this, since I was working all week really, but also having to go to sleep at my normal time and get up at my normal time. I focused Wednesday and Thursday getting the page count done rather than updating, because I got the page count done like right before I went to bed each of those days. But to update on how I'm feeling about this book, I'm really enjoying it. It's like by no means the best fantasy I've ever read. I'd say it's pretty mild in the world building, like magic system, that kind of stuff. Maybe this would be a good transition fantasy from YA to adult, and the characters are relatively young. The main character is only 24, which I am suddenly older than the main character of an adult novel. I don't know when that happened, but here we are. And I do enjoy this. This is about So I said it's a knight and a mage. It's a mage and their well. And the well is essentially a person that holds the power that the mage pulls from. The mage doesn't have power by themselves. They just have the ability to manipulate or use that power in certain ways and certain affinities. So that's the dynamic between Gray, our main character. She is the well of Kier, the love interest in this book. And luckily this is not like super romance heavy. There are, through essentially halfway point of this book, just like pining feelings brought up. There is no active romance happening, which I personally appreciate. I'd rather see the emotional side than the physical side of romance, but I know that's not the same for everybody. And I do like the love interest. Typically in a lot of romanticities that I've seen and that are popular, I feel like it's the male love interest can be more of like the macho, possessive type, using the word like mate and female and male and stuff like that. Like just a little too intense for my liking. The love interest in this is very like soft, very tender and sweet, and I'm like, and that's the dynamic that I appreciate. I will take tenderness every day over whatever the heck is happening in Sarah J. Maas's books. I appreciate the change of pace, I feel like, for this love interest. And I also like the way that diversity, specifically with like sexuality and gender, is really seamlessly woven into this. Our two main characters appear to be bi or pansexual, and then we have a non-binary side character and a trans man who actually alluded to having a period, which I never, whenever I see trans characters, I never see people talk about men with periods. And that was cool to just kind of have brought up in this book. It was very brief. It was just like a random mention of it. So I really appreciate that. It did take me a little bit to invest in the side characters, and I feel like I still am not completely invested in them just because I don't know a whole bunch about them. We are primarily focusing on the main character and the love interest, so that is a little lacking for me, but I can see a dynamic growing between everybody that I appreciate, and hopefully this is going to be a series, so hopefully the author delves a little more into the side characters and builds them up as their like kind of own established characters rather than just people to fill in the cast. So yeah, I do have some faults with that, with this, and again, not a very unique magic system, and one that's not very explored either. Apparently there are other types of magic in other parts of the country, so I assume, or other parts of the world, so I assume since that's mentioned, it would be maybe brought up and played with a little bit later in the series. But as of right now, we just kind of have a very simple magic system going on. It makes it easy to follow. It's just not the most unique thing in the world. But yeah, I don't know if I completely mentioned what this was about. I did say the mage and well thing, but Locke is, I did know this before going in, Locke is actually a place that the magic in this world is derived from, or in this country is derived from, and Locke disappeared 16 years prior to the events of this book, and there's turmoil within the neighboring kingdoms trying to maintain the power that is left because no more wells are being created now that Locke is gone. Also, there is believed to be one surviving heir from the Isle of Locke, and that plays a role in this as well. And there, I will say, not to spoil anything, but there was something related to that was revealed, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it was supposed to be a surprise. There were like hints, way too many hints going on as far as the characters in this book relating to the Isle of Loch. There were way too many hints. There was no subtlety for me to feel like I was actually supposed to be surprised by that, and it was relatively early on in the book. I'll not say exactly what it is, but I think just knowing fantasy plots, you can probably guess. But yes, that's what this title is referring to, and this is just them at war. There's a bit of a quest going on. Where I'm at now, the other shoe is dropped, so I don't know exactly where we're going to be going with the plot. I'm interested to see, and hopefully I continue liking it. Like I said, this is pretty easy to read. Obviously, I've been reading quite a large chunk, for me at least, each day this week, so I'm glad that this isn't like dense or anything. It's pretty easy to read, and it is more of my pace in when it comes to the romantasy element of it. But yeah, that is the update for today. Like I said, I have to get to page 318 to complete my 102 pages for the day. And I am also gonna check what tomorrow's page count will be. Tomorrow is kind of a busy day. I have my weekly adoption fair that I do with the local SPCA. That will take up a good chunk of my day because I transport the animals to and from the events, but I'll let you see them. I'll get some B-roll and you can see the babies. So I have that, and then later in the day I'm going to a Christmas night market with my mom. I'm gonna go try and go early-ish, like after it starts, just so it's not as dark when I go. But I think since it's the weekend, I might have less pages to read, but let's figure that out before I start making assumptions. Okay, yeah, I do have less pages. It's not like minuscule, but it's only 75 pages compared to the 102 I'm doing today. So I think that's feasible, because I will be home for most of the evening, and I'll have a break in between the adoption fair and the event with my mom. So I will get my page count done for today later tonight after I finish this, and then I will check up tomorrow to see where I'm at and if I complete the 75 pages. Tomorrow is Saturday, when that book club discussion was supposed to be, so obviously I'm not going to be finishing this in time for that, but upon further research, it's at 3 p.m. my time, and I usually get home from the adoption fairs a little after 3 p.m, so I would be missing at least part of the discussion anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. I'll miss that, but I've read a new release now, which I don't do very often, and I want to do more of. So yeah, that is the plan. That is how far I've made it in my book, and I will update tomorrow. Bye. I've got my Christmas sweater on. I'm overstimulated but festive. So I am back and I have a bit of a dilemma because it is currently 7:32 p.m. on Saturday and I have not read a single page of this book today. I'm supposed to read 75 pages, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm currently at page 321. I am supposed to get to, and it was so kind as to start or to end directly on the beginning of a chapter. So I'm supposed to get to page 396 and I'm gonna read still. I just don't think I'm gonna get to that part because I usually get sleepy around 10 p.m. and I don't read fast. So I will do the best I can. But if I don't make it to the full 75 pages, I'm gonna do what I've seen other people do in this challenge, and I'm going to carry over what I didn't finish to tomorrow. And I have less to do tomorrow. I should be doing chores around my apartment, but I can neglect that for this challenge if I need to. So let's check what the page count is tomorrow and see what I will be adding to if I don't reach the 75 pages today. So on Sunday, I don't know why I was picking up my phone so much on Sunday, but it's 88 pages again, which was the same that we had on Wednesday. So I know I can do it. I don't know how much I'll be adding to that. I'll update, I guess, after I've finished the challenge. But yeah, baseline for tomorrow is going to be 88 pages. I'm more than likely going to add to that. But that means, let me see, if I get to page 396 and there's 462, that's only 70 pages. So I'm going to need to pick up another book and read 18 pages of that. But I don't know what that book is going to be. I could go to my next book in the list, but then I'd have to spin the wheel, and I'm not ready to do that because I want to watch an adaptation before I move on to the next book in that series. So I'm not ready to do I might just have to choose something random. I haven't done that in a while. Typically I'll just literally use a random number generator to decide what book I'm gonna read off of my spreadsheet that has all my unread books on it. So maybe I'll just have to do that, and I'll start a new book. Maybe I'll choose something short so that I can get that done quickly and move on to the next book in the other series I'm currently working on. But yeah, that is, I just wanted to update that this today kind of derailed this project. I don't know how much I'll be able to read in like the 2 hours that I'll be fully awake, but I will do as much as I can. I did just make dinner, so I'm gonna eat that, get a little more energized, and then I'll jump into this and power through as much as I can so that I don't have to carry too much over to tomorrow. But yeah, that was just an update. I did get all my stuff done. I did the adoption fair, went to the Christmas thingamajig. You'll have seen clips. That's why I'm wearing my Christmas sweater, which is huge, by the way, even though I bought a small. But regardless, I did all the things. We're home now. It's later than I anticipated, but I had a fun time. And I'm gonna eat my dinner, and then I'm gonna read my book. And that is that, and I'll update you tomorrow. I guess since I'm gonna be finishing this book tomorrow, I'll update you once I've finished, and then I'll update you on whatever I'm going to start after this. So I'll see you then. Bye. I am here to close out this video. I did not end up reading all of the pages for Saturday. On Saturday, I was really gonna try to like just push through and read all the pages, even if I had to stay up late, but I literally was falling asleep as I was reading the last chapter that night. So I read 45 pages of the 75, I believe, on Saturday, which added 30 pages to my Sunday total, making that a total of 118 pages that I needed to read on Sunday, which is a lot for me, but I did it. I managed to do it. I alternated between there wasn't anything big that I needed to do, like errands outside of my apartment, so I alternated between reading and doing some chores around the apartment. I didn't completely neglect those. I did neglect some, but it's fine. They got done in the afternoon on the following days, so we're good. And I did end up completing The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. I ended up giving this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did overall really enjoy it. The second half, however, it fell a bit flat for me. I appreciated the quest aspect of the first half of this book. I mentioned wanting to see the side characters more, and unfortunately in the second half I feel like we saw them less. I didn't think that the second half was necessarily as intriguing. A lot of it was like political intrigue, and I do like political intrigue. I don't think that that is this author's strong suit, unfortunately. And then there were just other things that I couldn't bring myself to care too much about, like, for example, a big portion of the conflict in the second half has to do with a decision that the character has to make. And as soon as that decision comes up, to me it was like, there's one choice that is obvious, and if you choose anything else, you're stupid, and I'm gonna be mad if you choose it. So there wasn't really any stakes involved because I knew what she was going to choose to begin with. So yeah, that, unfortunately, it did fall flat for me on that end, but for the majority of this book, I did enjoy it. I really like the romance, the just kind of sweet, tender nature of the romance, and again, the quest aspect of it is something that I'm always a fan of. Maybe it's because I grew up with Percy Jackson, but we love a good quest. I did learn, however, this is listed as being part of a series on Goodreads, but then I read the synopsis of the sequel, and it's not a sequel. In fact, the synopsis refers to it as a standalone. It's just set in the same world as this. It does not follow characters that we meet in this book. It's completely new characters on a completely different continent, which, according to this book, actually has a different way of using magic. So it's technically in the same world, but really not related at all. So it will expand upon the world of this, as I was assuming that a sequel would, just not expanding on these characters in any way. So I guess I was a little confused as to whether or not this was supposed to wrap up in this book, and it did wrap up. I do think that the whole wrapping up of the like bigger plot points that we're trying to achieve was a little rushed. It would definitely be more complicated than what happened in this book. So, and maybe that's what I mean by political intrigue. Like, she was getting help from people really easily, and I don't think that's how that works. So yeah, it just wasn't the most convincing ending of a story, but I will be picking up more from this author, probably next in the series. It is, like I said, on a different continent, but it looks like it has a second chance romance aspect to it. I know there's also a thief and potentially a heist. Let me double check that one. It doesn't necessarily say a heist, but it does say that she's tasked with infiltrating enemy lands in search of a powerful relic. And she's a thief, so like kind of a heist, if you ask me. But yeah, I'll be picking that up, and I know this author also has, I think, a YA horror. I don't know if she has more than one, or if it's just Not Good for Maidens, I think is what it's called. I might check that one out. I haven't really heard much about it. But this did not complete the 118 that I needed to read on Sunday, so I did choose a random book off my TBR using the random number generator. And as you saw in the B-roll, I picked up A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. I only read the first 24 pages of this for the challenge. I am actually a couple days after finishing the challenge, and I'm 100 pages in now. I will say this book has my interest. Unlike the other Shay Earnshaw I read, which was one of her YA books, it was The Wicked Deep. It was so boring. I couldn't stand that book one bit. This one, the first part intrigued me. Definitely had great atmosphere. It's about a man who was kind of a PI tracking down this woman that had been missing for 5 years, but there was a supernatural element to it as well that I didn't know about, where he could use objects that the missing person owned, or just people in general owned, and see their memories, or essentially their lives, through that object. And so that's how he's tracking this woman down. That's part 1, which feels like a prologue now that I'm further into the book. And I really liked that. I thought the concept was cool. I thought it was really atmospheric. Now, however, we're following the cult, which I knew going into this book, some part of it had to do with a cult. And we see at the end of this part where we follow the PI, he's reached like the border into this cult, or this commune. And now we're following 3 different people in said commune, and I'm a little confused because it seems to be after the PI perspective that we followed, and we're not going back to his perspective. At least it doesn't appear that we'll be going back to his perspective anytime soon. So I'm not sure what they're doing with that. I have a theory. I'm not sure the author can pull off this theory, but we'll just have to see. Like I said, the first part really had me hooked. I don't know where we're going, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up liking it. Like, I met the guy that leads the cult, and it's gross. I don't like him. Which I know I'm not supposed to. Like, he's just gaslighting this woman. There's also a blind character. One of the main characters in this is blind, and I don't know how good that representation is. I haven't seen anything glaringly offensive by any means, but I'm not blind myself. I don't have any visual impairments, so I don't know, can't say how good that representation is. It is, however, an aspect of this book, and I'll probably look into it and see if any Own Voices reviews have spoken about that. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. I hope this doesn't get stupid, because unfortunately I tend to pick up thrillers and they do stupid twist, and I don't end up liking them. So hopefully this is cool and trippy and not stupid, but we'll just have to see, because Shay Earnshaw has done me dirty before. But this is a different genre and a different age range, so maybe she won't do me dirty this time. Hopefully. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the last things that I read. Overall, I read 2 manga, a full-length fantasy novel, and I started a new book. So I think that was pretty successful. Unfortunately, my screen time, or my pickups, were more than I anticipated, but I still managed to get through everything except for a little bit of a miss on Saturday, but I was busy and I made up for it, so it's okay. But yeah, those are all the things I read in this video. If there's any other ideas similar to this that I should try out, then definitely let me know down in the comments, and let me know if you've read any of these books. I guess we can't really chat about Demon Slayer because spoilers, but either of these 2, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But that will be it for this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!